Are you caught in the whirlwind of overwhelming responsibilities? And does the very thought of Monday morning send chills down your spine? Well, it's time to toss those feelings out the window. Welcome to Season 3 of the Take Notes podcast, where you get to make yourself the priority in order to show up as your best self. I'm your host, Jen Rafferty, former music teacher, emotional intelligence practitioner, mom of 2, and founder of Empowered Educator, and I've been where you are. In this season, we're not just talking about surviving, we are diving deep into thriving. Are you ready to take the lead in your life? Well, let's do this. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Take Notes. I am here with the wonderful Lily Jones, who is the founder of Educator Forever, where she empowers teachers to expand their impact beyond the classroom, and Educator Forever Agency, where she works with a team of educators to create inspiring curricula. Thank you so much, Lily, for being here on the show today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's dive in. And one of the things we had talked about previously before we started recording, because we've talked for a couple times now, you have a really great way of continuing to connect to your bigger purpose of what it is that you're doing and why you're doing that. And some of that message is obviously really important right now for teachers and educators to connect with, but it's been overdone in a way where a lot of people feel resentful about this idea. Like, you're telling me to remember my why. I'm so stressed out right now. How could this possibly be helpful for me? And I'd love for you to tell me a little bit how you walk through those feelings, which are completely valid, with your clients and how you kind of navigate them yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I think first acknowledging that teachers are dealing with so much, and it's so easy to feel like, oh, somebody's just flippantly telling me to do something, focus on my why, or take time for me, or practice self-care. All of these things often are said in a very Band-Aid kind of way. And so I think just acknowledging the place that it comes from, those feelings of annoyance, is valid and part of a toxic system for teachers. And so I think that just acknowledging that first of all. And then I really do think that your why is the only thing that matters in some ways. So it's I don't think that focus is in that same vein if you really think about it. I think that thinking about the bigger why for everything in education and life is really grounding and important. And so I think for teachers to really think about not only a why in terms of their career or why am I doing this or why am I in this situation, but why am I in education in the first place? What is my goal or what drew me to this in the first place? I remember being so excited as a beginning teacher, being oh my gosh, I have my own classroom. This is amazing. I can get kids really excited about learning. That was my why. I want kids to feel excited to come to school. And then as the years went on, I got pretty disconnected from that why because of all the day-to-day stuff. And so reconnecting to that allowed me to think about not only while I was a classroom teacher, making a bigger impact, having a more sustainable life for me that felt connected to what I wanted to do, but also really thinking about the why behind what I was teaching and why it was important for kids and the bigger purpose of it all. So I think it's so important in all the things to think about a bigger picture. And I think some of what's so stressful about being a teacher is we don't have the mental space to do that. There's so many frenzied moments and managing all the things. And it's how do I even create the time to think about this when I have tiny children asking me to do things and administrators telling me to do things and all the things?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I agree with you. Validating those feelings has to come first, because if we don't acknowledge them, we are making it worse, actually, and creating feelings of even more frustration and resentment, which doesn't end well. So once we can kind of acknowledge, I'm having a hard time here, I know cognitively that I need to be giving myself more time, paying attention to self-care, connecting to this bigger picture. I'm acknowledging that it doesn't feel good right now. Process through those feelings so that then you can truly connect to that bigger picture. Because I totally agree with you.
Yes.
Understanding your reason for doing anything is going to give you the direction for everything else that you want to do. And without it, you're just aimlessly wandering around doing things that maybe feel like obligations or expectations or other people's shoulds or supposed tos. And none of that ever feels good. So grounding yourself in that bigger picture of why. I love that you shared that your why was to get kids excited for school. And the truth is, if you weren't excited to go to school, I can't imagine the kids being excited for school. So how does that why or that bigger picture connect to the educator, even outside of school?
Yeah, I think it connects to feeling aligned to what you're doing and feeling like you are like that's what makes it sustainable to me. I think that when I was teaching, so much of what felt unsustainable and so much what I see with other teachers is because we're asked to do things in a way that's not connected to our why, or maybe we don't believe in the why. And so maybe it's a curriculum that's really teacher heavy or scripted. And we have kids here who are like so curious and excited about learning that we're like, oh, we want to be able to interact with them and like go off of that curiosity and have that freedom and that agency to change up the curriculum we're using. But because we're told that we have to teach this certain way or using this certain very like stringent curriculum, it feels not aligned. And that's what causes so much of the frustration. And that's on so many levels. That's just one example. And so I think that frustration comes from not having that agency to go after and to act aligned to your why. And so that carries over in all areas. I mean, that doesn't feel good anywhere, right? Like, I don't want to parent like that. I don't want to be in my marriage like that. I don't want to be a friend like that. I want to be very purposeful and to be able to act aligned to what I believe or what I think my bigger why is. And so I think that frustration is real and it doesn't feel good. And it especially doesn't feel good as a teacher to know my kids or I could be doing this better and not have the power or the capacity to change that. And so I think it just spills out into other areas too. You can't just turn it off.
Yeah, I agree. And so in creating that space to process through those feelings of frustration or even anger, resentment, even though it doesn't feel good, we have to still process through them. Then having the space to reconnect to your why, or really maybe even creating a new one because perhaps you're in a different place than you were when you first started teaching. How then can you use that to create an education system or a space that you want, that you dream of, that really aligns with that why?
Yes. I think it starts with seeing that it's possible or allowing yourself to believe that it's possible. And just to give an example, going back to me being like, I want to create a learning environment that kids feel excited about learning and feel really excited about the curriculum that they're doing. When I thought about what wasn't working for me as a teacher, it was all the things that weren't that. And so when I thought about, could I just focus on creating exciting learning experiences? At first, I kept having this voice in my head being like, no, who does that? No, you're a teacher. You have to do all these things. Being a teacher comes with this huge list of things that you do. And so just seeing that possibility took time. And I had to explore different options of like, oh, this person says they're writing curriculum. What does that look like? What could I do in that way? And so I think that detangling a little bit of what you're feeling and getting to your why, it's not like you snap your fingers, to see how it happens or even to know what your why is. It's a process. And so I think staying open to it and having inquiry with yourself of like, okay, could I do this? What's possible? And then in those moments of possibility, really thinking about both cognitively, like, does this connect to what I want to do? Does this connect to what I enjoy? Does this connect to the purpose that I want to, or that I have, or the difference I want to make? But also the feeling of it. Does it feel good? Does this feel like the right next step to me? And I think we can't be in that feeling when we're so overwhelmed. Just like you said, we have to process all the emotions and all the things and detangle, do all this work before we can even get to this moment of really clearly knowing like, this is my why, and this is how it feels to be aligned to my why. And so I think, again, like this is one of the things going back to what you asked at the beginning, that like it can seem really flippant and like, oh, to think about your why. But because it's like, yeah, I can't in just a second as a busy teacher, but I can if it's more of like an ongoing exploration and commitment.
Yeah, I love that ongoing exploration. And I want to talk a little bit about something you said right there about doing things that feel good. I think I'm laughing because it's just so interesting to me. And this has been a part of my story too throughout my career. This idea that there's this false dichotomy of feeling good and working hard, and they're mutually exclusive. And maybe if you work hard enough, you might feel good. But if things feel easy and aligned and wonderful, then I can't possibly be working hard enough. Can you talk a little bit about how we can deconstruct that story and write a new one?
Yes, absolutely. I totally appreciate that framing of it too, because I think, especially as teachers, right, we have a badge of honor almost. If we're working so hard, we're staying so long after the bell, we're doing all these things. And because we're working so hard, then we're a good teacher. And that's not necessarily connected. And I think it's just generally society like, yeah, work so hard and then hopefully in 30 years, retire and enjoy yourself. How about we enjoy ourselves now? And so I think it absolutely is not mutually exclusive and needs to be disrupted, particularly for kids. I don't think this is a message we should be giving kids also, that like you have to hustle and study for a test to like get an A on a test. No, you should be in the moment, excited and curious about what you're learning and empowered to go after the path that makes you feel excited and curious. And so I think all of that is like misguided to have this idea that we have to hustle or work in a way that doesn't feel good to us to be able to do good work. I do think that it's so entrenched in so many layers that, again, it's like this detangling. But I think really the best work that you can do is the work that feels good and feels aligned to your purpose. I do think along with that too, which I think you alluded to also, that it's like hard work isn't bad. Like hard work, when it feels aligned to what you want to do, is really exciting. I always give this example to teachers who are like, I'm a busy teacher. How are you asking me to do something on the side? And I'm always like, when you do the right thing, it feels good and energizing. When I was a burnout teacher and I started doing curriculum projects on the side, I had zero time. I did them late at night. I did them on the weekends, but it felt so good because I was being creative. I was developing my skills. I was learning something hard. And so I think that sometimes that joy does come from hard work, but when it's aligned to what you want to do and you have that agency and like voice in it, it can be so powerful.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail right on the head when you're talking about understanding your agency and owning and appreciating the alignment. All of it's possible. You don't have to choose to feel good or be a good teacher. They can be both. And I think that goes back to what you were saying earlier about exploring your purpose creates an opportunity for you to expand your idea of what's possible. And our ideas of what's possible, unfortunately, can start off very limited because we only have the evidence of what's already been done, what we've experienced, what we've seen. And if we're thinking about potential and possibility, we're in a realm of things that have yet to be done, things that are outside of your comfort zone. So how do you bridge the gap for people to move from comfort to the discomfort of doing something they've never done before, like feeling good and being a good teacher?
Yes, I think it all comes from like the discomfort is how we learn. And to me, what's really grounding about that is being a teacher. Teaching kindergarten where kids were learning how to read and they were failing, right? Over and over again. Every time they tried to read a word, it was really hard and they didn't get it right. And as a teacher, I knew that, right? I knew like, okay, you have to fail. You have to not be able to read this word thousands of times before you do. And I see you working at it and I'm praising you for working at it and all the things along the way. And the same is true for us as grown-ups. When we try something new, it's going to be hard and we're going to feel like we're quote unquote failing. But I think that failing is actually learning. When you don't give up on it, when you feel committed to it, everything that doesn't go right is giving you information and teaching you something. And so I think when you can have that same mindset that I think most teachers promote in their kids, but when it comes to us, it can be really hard. And I definitely said things to my kids all the time of like, oh, mistakes are how we learn. Like, here we go, sending out these messages. And then when I tried to do things that were very outside of my comfort zone, leaving the classroom, building my own business, like all the things, I found myself being like, oh gosh, mistakes are how we learn, but it's really hard. And so I think just acknowledging that's how learning happens for everyone.
Yeah. And it's so ironic, right? That there's humor in all of this. And I think if we're
Yes.
able to even acknowledge the levity and
Yes.
the irony in this, it lightens everything up a little bit. Here we are literally telling children, it's okay, you're safe, you're smart, you're capable, we got you. And we don't treat ourselves that way. And
Yes.
unfortunately, the truth is the messages that kids receive are more the ones that we show them with our actions and less of actually what we tell them, which is why this is so important for us to embody ourselves because our kids are watching us for how to be. I would like to guess that your kindergarten teacher was also quite similar and continued to encourage you while you were reading. And it went on again in first grade and second grade. And yet, as adults, those messages were not as deeply penetrating as the ones that we see in the other adults in our lives. So I'm so glad that you shared that. So what kind of strategies do you use personally and or share with your clients and the educators you work with to remind ourselves, to remind yourself that it's okay, that you're still good and whole and capable?
Yes. I mean, I think so much of it that I dealt with and a lot of teachers I work with that deal with is our identities are so tied to being teachers. And really, when I left the classroom, I was like, who am I if I'm not a teacher? And so that led me down to a whole path of discovering, rediscovering, and being able to articulate like, I am a whole human without being a teacher or not being a teacher. And so I think doing that work is really helpful for everybody that like, yes, you are a teacher. That's part of who you are, but it's not who you are. And so having that sense that no matter what I was doing as my profession or what my personal life was like, I'm a whole human. And so acknowledging that and really centering on that and building from there. And then going back to the mistakes, I think that building resilience and having that being a goal and being very metacognitive almost about what's happening. That is, hey, I'm taking a risk right now and I'm going to see how it goes. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, I'm going to learn from it. And so having that mindset, I found to be really helpful, really thinking through, like, I do think that's important to say when you go into things, but it's also important when things don't work out well to think about what can I learn here? What's the opportunity? What is this challenging me to do right now? And also to create things that are more supportive for me in that moment. So it's, yeah, sure, this project didn't work out or whatever it is. I'm feeling sad about it. How can I support myself? What kind of thoughts can I tell myself that would be more supportive in this moment? What can I do to take care of my body in this moment? So really thinking about everything as a learning experience or a chance to support yourself better or to be more aligned with what you want to do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that goes along the lines of where I was hoping we would be going anyways. So it's a great kind of segue here to really expanding this idea of teacher well-being. Because so often we think about, well, self-care and our minds go to bubble baths and massages and getting our nails done and taking a mental health day. And while I personally love all of those things, that is not how we create sustainable practices of self-care nor does it directly relate to our holistic well-being. But the things that you were just describing really do. So can we talk a little bit more about how we can expand our ideas of what that even looks like?
Yes, absolutely. I spend a lot of my time thinking about how to truly support teachers. And I feel like it's an ongoing exploration. But I think a lot of it comes down to the purpose and the agency and empowering teachers to really act in a way that's aligned to what they believe. Because I do think, just like we just talked about, when you act out or are supposed to teach out of a place that is not aligned to what you believe or what you want to do or what you think these kids need, nothing feels good. And so really supporting teachers is honoring their expertise, giving them flexibility to be able to change things up in the moment, giving them support and skills that, like literally everybody, nobody knows everything. And so there's always an opportunity to learn more. And so I think the idea of like teacher created professional development path or paths that teachers can choose of like, this is an area that I really want to commit to. This is something that I need support on in my practice. Like that can be really powerful too, rather than saying, okay, everybody's learning about the science of reading. Like, great, some people need to learn that. Some people maybe already know that. And so really giving that agency to teachers, I think is a huge part of it. I think another part of it is really seeing teachers as whole humans and acknowledging all the things that means, that we do need space to process our feelings and to share our feelings and to be supported and be in community with people who get it. We need financial freedom. I think that is a huge part that teachers are not supported with. And that leads to the whole feeling really frenzied and really overdone, because more than that 50% of teachers have a side job, often not in education. And so they may be working all day and then going and doing DoorDash for 3 hours and then going home to their 3 kids. That's not sustainable. And so I think that the financial piece is a huge part of supporting teachers too, to be able to have a more well-rounded and sustainable life. I could go on and on forever, but I think those are my initial starting points. And I really do think like what it all stems from is like really honoring and respecting teachers.
Sure. I think that honoring and respecting teachers has to start with you honoring and respecting yourself. And there are so many messages from outside of us that are really harmful and hurtful for teachers, that are truly disrespectful and I will say even sometimes dehumanizing. And when
Yes.
we start those messages, the stories that we then tell ourselves that then begin to manifest is like, well, we're not worthy of more time, more space, asking for what we need, more money, more availability, more resources. And so it's this constant negative feedback loop that we've created for ourselves. And as RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? And I think the same thing goes into play here, where if we're not really able to honor and respect ourselves, we cannot expect that behavior to go outwards either. And so coming back, I think really full circle to knowing who you are and why you do what you do is going to light the way for the what, the how things are played out. So I think that's all really spot on with all of that. In your experience in working with teachers, what are some of the obstacles that you find that teachers face?
I think feeling really boxed in, which goes back to not being able to see the possibilities. Especially like I taught in a large school district for my first couple of years of teaching. And I was around teachers who were basically on the same track as me, right? They were paying into their retirement. They were looking forward to their pension in 30 years. And they didn't ever talk about anything but like, what are you doing this summer? They talked about other things, but in terms of their career, what are you doing this summer? And then we're coming back again next year. And so really seeing this narrow way made me feel really stuck. And so I think it comes down to like seeing the possibilities of what's out there and allowing yourself to really go after them, or just know that there are other things out there, whether it's like something beyond the classroom or something personally that you want to do, but really being able to see that, I think really is the first step. And then supporting teachers after seeing that it's possible. I don't think it's automatic that it's believing it's possible. There's a little bit of integration time, or a lot of integration time sometimes, of like, I see other people who are doing this, and then that brings up a lot of feelings sometimes of, but I couldn't do this. Oh, they must have their master's degree to be able to lead this professional development session or whatever it is. We make a lot of excuses or have feelings come up as we see other people go down their paths that either can be encouraging or not. And so I think really examining that too, of like, as you're looking at possibilities, what feelings come up for you? All feelings are fine. Feelings come up for all of us. But I think really what I've seen in working with teachers and for my own work, like when we acknowledge our feelings, we can move past them intentionally. And so really considering like seeing the possibilities, how does it feel when you imagine going after those possibilities in like, does it feel aligned to what you want to do? And also like, how possible does it actually feel to you? And then no one gets a process. People often come to me, and I totally get it, wanting an overnight fix. And very few really awesome things are overnight fixes. It's a process. And through that process, going back to like learning opportunities, that's how we learn and evolve. And so I think making that commitment and having that awareness that once you commit to something, you can do it. I do believe that, but it takes time. And it takes working through all the things that come up along the way. And so I think part of that is being in community. Part of what makes that easier is being in community with other people. And that's really what I've tried to create at Educator Forever, is like what I wish I had when I left the classroom, is other people doing similar things. Because I've seen and had that experience myself, like it's so much easier when you're around other people who also see your possibilities, who also have had these obstacles, who can help you see that it's an obstacle, it's not an end. And so really having that big picture and committing to it as a journey, I think are the best things you can do.
I totally agree with everything, and particularly about that community. Community is one of the most powerful things that we can create for ourselves. And if you are listening and you haven't found your people yet, they are out there. And reach out to either Lily or me, and we will either invite you into our communities or direct you to places where you might find relation to other communities. It is essential to find your people, because that is how we grow. And it's a beautiful part of our humanity. I would say one of my favorite parts.
Yes, me too. Me
to be in
too.
community. So my question to you, kind of in this vein that we've been going in this whole conversation, which has been so wonderful. What is your dream for the future of education? What do you want?
Yes, I want way more joy. And so I want everything to be joyful. Not everything, right? I'm not saying there's not going to be hard times. Like, again, all feelings are welcome. But I think what schools need is more joy and engagement, and getting kids to play a role in that, and teachers to play a role in that, and sharing the responsibility for that joy and engagement. And so when I think about schools in the future, it makes me really excited to think about kids. Exactly what I said was my bigger why, right? Coming into the classroom and being really excited. Teachers coming into the classroom and being really excited and feeling supported in all the ways. That's what I want to see. And a lot of what I have two school age kids who are in great schools, but a lot of what I see with them and their peers is not quite there yet. And so really thinking about centering joy. And I think that comes with really making room for both more student voice and more teacher voice and agency. And thinking about what's really important in education, going back again to the bigger why. Why are we doing these things? Why are we teaching these things? Why are we teaching them this way? And so really examining that to get to a more holistic and effective experience.
Yeah. Oh, can you just imagine for a minute, just closing my eyes and thinking about what that would look like if school systems in general valued joy as much as they do graduation rate.
Yes, totally. Yes, absolutely. I think so much of it to me goes back to I could talk about this literally forever, but goes back to self-directed learning. Like, kids get so excited about learning things, whether it's like how to beat a video game or like what this bug is like outside. Kids get so excited about that. And I think that is already there, but often schools sadly do not foster that. And so I think it's like the ingredients are there, right? We have teachers who know the impact they want to make, who want to help people, who want to do really cool things in the classroom. We have kids who fundamentally do want to learn and they do want to be supported and they do want to have healthy, well-rounded lives. We have all the ingredients. It's just like, how do we put it together to make it actually work?
Yes, I love that. More of that. Yes, please. So, Lily, how can people learn more about you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So Educator Forever's website is educatorforever.com. You can find out more about all of our offerings there. My very favorite offering right now is our Educator Forever Network, which is our membership community where we have amazing people doing all the things that we talked about. I really see it as like a meditation on how to really support teachers to thrive. And we keep adding wellness circles and co-working sessions and all the things. Like, it is focused on helping people get jobs beyond the classroom, but also really be supported as whole humans and reimagine what it means to be an educator. So definitely can check that out, or any of our other offerings. We have curriculum programs, which are all about connecting to your why and creating the curriculum you hope to see in the world. So check out our website. We're also on Instagram at Educator Forever, and you can always email me at lily@educatorforever.com.
Beautiful. And all of those links are going to be right in the show notes. So it'll be super easy for people to get in touch. So thank you so much for your time and for your talents and for all of the work you do in this world.
Thank you. Same to you. It's so great to talk with you.
So great to talk with you. And if you loved today's episode, please be sure to give it a 5-star review, share with a friend, and we'll see you next time on Take Notes. Incredible, right? Together, we can revolutionize the face of education. It's all possible, and it's all here for you right now. Let's keep the conversation going at Empowered Educator Faculty Room on Facebook.